Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Sunday, November the 10th, 2019, and I'm with my gal pal posse, tired as we all are, because it's kind of late. And Lisa and I have had quite the weekend that we're going to have a discussion about tomorrow, and we've been on our feet most of the day, but we had some pretty cool news from BZ, and so we're recording last minute style. So, bees, tell us.
Well,
Dying to hear what you got to say.
well, well, for me it was fascinating in there, and for a lot of it, there was another being right there watching it, and she thought it was pretty amazing. She actually sent me a text later and said, "And thank you for having me there while you." She was a practitioner, so she would had to be there, but um. So then when I was thinking about having this conversation with you, and I was actually nudged to record it, and if I felt later I didn't want to publish it, we could do that. But anyway, so I said okay. And I think that I didn't know it at the time, but I'm going to start. It's something that happened over about a 20-hour period, and so I'm going to, because the pieces that were before what happened today, which was a culmination point, they were interesting, they were cool. I was, I knew that there was something there, but it was only until I got to this part of it did I see how just perfectly stair steps and stepping stones it was orchestrated. So the very first part happened yesterday, probably early in the morning. It was already out, and it was the newest Virgo from San, and that was very interesting in it. And it's called a higher love, and I think even in itself, she wasn't clear what the quote unquote love part was, other than it was a higher love. So there was something that kept kind of touching me on that, and then I bought the extended on that. So that was very interesting. But again, it wasn't like oh or aha, or it just was very interesting. There's a lot of, so it went into mull and it's doing the thing. And then the next one was I had to look up something for work, and I had to watch videos on how to do something. And on the side, when it feeds, you think totally unrelated to what I was looking at, comes up was the conscious. There's that another tarot type or card.
Yeah, I think she's called Conscious Evolution.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And she had one, and it was the picture, and it was is one of the things where she kind of it was on the 1111 gateway. So, and that was something big again, and that was another thing in San's reading, was the 1111, and something big was igniting and finishing and coming to fruition all at the same time, right? Door opening. And so anyway, what caught my eye on this one in the picture was something about the 1111 portal. And she was doing a thing where she was going to show you, she was going to do a reading for the collective, and then one specifically, there were 3 different images, and this wasn't any sign, this was all. And she said, everybody will be drawn to different ones, and she's a timestamp when she does a specific reading on that. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just look at it for a minute because I'm supposed to be working. And that again was very interesting, because the overall was interesting and mirrored a lot of things that have been coming in for me on the whole collective and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then she showed 3 images, and I didn't have to think, but one not only was I drawn to, but it like grew bigger. So I think they were all stairs or doors or some things like that. But this one, if it was this big, it got bigger and came rushing right at me. And I thought, well, okay, but clearly I'm supposed to go that way.
Not hard to make that out, was it, Bees?
So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be a little late for getting back to work because I got to go this week. I said, well, who needs lunch? So anyway, so I did that, and again, there was stuff on that on the 11/11 on huge things, and this one was all about completions and much more. I don't remember exactly how she termed it, but kind of like sight and knowing and seeing and knowing. I think she used a lot of coming completely online, like totally off the charts. I thought, okay, all right. So they do this. Then I did some work and something, and so they kind of sat there. And then early this morning at 8, quarter of 8, I had where I work. Some of it is with other people beings and animal beings and stuff, and so I had a whole set of appointments coming. This person who comes, one of a team of different kind of practitioners that come to work on some of the animals that are my charges. And she's a structural medicine person. So you can go look up structural medicine, and has to do a lot with fashion. But this woman, I just call her, Penny the Magic Woman. Because she's not like any other, and I'll laugh. I said, if I could look up definition of a structural medicine person, and they don't do what you do. She said, so, and I knew it from the moment that one of my vets actually introduced her to it. This is for when I was trying to finally fix an injury that I had from work, and Keegan's injury. So she does people, she does horses, she does dogs, she does cats. Anyway, so she was doing 5 of them today. She was doing 2 from work, and then I was working, but 2 from work, and then 3 from me. So she was doing Rose because Rose asked to go, and Keegan, and then myself.
And if you don't mind, I'm just going to remind folks that Rose is Rose Kitty Cat.
Yeah.
And Keegan is your Aussie.
Yeah.
Okay, your Aussie Shepherd.
And she's been helping with his rehab from his injury, and it's interesting because Rose hasn't asked, to go. We have an Eastern vet, and she hears about it and likes it, and that's fine. But she's never said, hey, book me on, But this one, a couple of weeks ago, she did. I said, yeah. And she said, yeah. I said, you got to get in a little carrier, and even though we're just going down to the barn over there, you got to get in the car and go down. Oh, okay. So today she went. So anyway, so it's very magical what happens there, and I mean literally, like fur changes color, and the amount of pigment in fur from certain of the beings goes many shades darker to what it's ultra brand new puppy would look like, and I mean it's dramatic, and the angle of, and this is with humans too, the angle of the first time that she came and did me, we talked about this before. I had this injury where I fell flying in the ice, and it was just excruciating in my shoulder for 11-12 months. I just got used to it. And when she came back the next time after she'd done it, she said, well, how are you feeling? And I had to think about what it was that even was bugging me. The next time she came back, I couldn't remember what it was. And I mean, this was every day, night and day, always there. And it would get worse, as the day, work day and everything. Anyways, so one of the things because we were talking about new paradigm business and the other thing I've been nudged to do, but she comes, and structural medicine is an accepted modality, a Western type modality, right? And a lot of it, if you looked it up, it had to do with fashion stuff. This woman does that. She also comes and will have conversations right there with her guides and her whole team. Herself, her soul's right there. And sometimes it's audible. And the first time she came and did me, what it was actually my whole pelvis was completely out of whack. And I could feel more than one set of hands. We were out in the yard on a massage table and having a tree bath while she did this work. And the only other human aside from me was this person. Except there were other pairs of hands aside from her hands working on me.
Wow.
And her specialty is to work with nerves that have been buried either in her fascia. And it's so amazing, and it's the energy. And one of the things that she says she loves is because I can hold the frequency for myself and all of my charges, and then the different areas where there's living happening, it can actually hold that as well. She can see dramatic, there can be huge, I mean, we're talking tremendous from a physical, I can't do it right because my hand, but from a physical structure that's at an angle like this, a bone structure that's like this, and make it go like that.
Wow.
Talking about a spine.
Well, that makes sense to me for anybody that's, and then I'll tell you why, because I have been experiencing, well, having been, pretty much sedentary my entire life. It came to me, my own guidance came to me that part of my troubles with my knees and whatnot are the fascia, as that being sedentary sort of drew my knees, the structure of my body. It's like, I don't know, just tensing it up, right? And it's so I can absolutely see where that would and happen very quickly.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about things that have been, she worked on one of the beings that's a ward of mine, and I had to go around because I had, instead of being like a drug dealer, I'm an energy dealer now. So people say, hey, I hear Penny's coming. Can I get in on that? Get me in. Come on, get me in.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Me too.
So anyways, they got to look at the being, and they're like, holy shit, when did that happen? I said, yeah, about 45 minutes. Wow. I mean, dramatic. Okay. So when so I was the last of 5 today, and she said, what would you like to do? And I had been thinking, well, been very tired, and work's been super busy, and obviously I've put me at the bottom of the list for way too long, and so there was a lot of little things here and there. So here's one of the reasons I think there's a couple kind of things embedded in the nudge to share this. So instead of scripting it or pre-paving it or going, oh, well, this really hurts or whatever, and I said, well, there's all sorts of things that would probably like to raise their hand and say this, that, and the other thing. And my sense is that there's one thing that if you find what that is, it will, undo them all. And she said, yeah. And I said, so I, you can start over there. And if it's the last one, it doesn't matter to me. I said, because for me, it's the whole magic that's happening that I like.
Right.
So being open, non-attachment to that kind of thing. And she said, okay, so lay down on the table. And with what she does, I take my shoes off, but that's it, everything else. And actually, since I had Aussie fur and cat fur, it's kind of human and fur all over me, but she'd been working on the animals more than she didn't care. And so the interesting thing, and she will immediately put her hands on you, and she's having a conversation. So she's talking, the room is full. The energies that come in there and the guides, and she's having a conversation, and she's, doing this. And so then she's guided where to go, what to do, and where to go first. So she did a little something up in the cranial, and then she moved down on the right side, and she was working in my hip and pelvic area. And I don't think I'd said any other details. So she starts working, and all of a sudden, and I've been working with her for a while now on a lot of different beings, but all of a sudden her thumb really, really trembled, and really like sometimes a drum or a musical instrument will really reverb with something, and you'll see the move. It's not so much a shake, but the reverb off of the instrument. You can see, like maybe the skin bellows, on the drum or something like that. Now I'm lying down and I'm not looking at her, and my eyes are closed, and I'm just whatever. But I can feel this big time, like there's a big bellow on a drum or something, and she said, "You feel it?" I said, "Oh, yeah." And she said, "Well, there's trauma there." Now, there's been other things where there was an injury, like she did stuff with Keegan injury, or for me, or for other beings, and it didn't have that thing. So this trauma was, like a demarcation of something different. And I thought, huh. And so I thought for a minute where she was and what she was doing. And I laughed and I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Well," I said, I'm not sick. I haven't been sick much in my life, but I had a couple. But when I get something, I do it up, really big. I mean, no point in messing around. You might as well just go whole hog." I said, that would have been, I'll try not to be too disgusting for some people, but that would have been when I had a 11.3 centimeter mass, and then split open to the peritoneal cavity. And she's like, "Oh, trauma, that would do it, So as she's working with it, and now I can feel another set of hands. She's and so I'm giving her. I was laughing. To me, they're humorous anecdotes because it happened when I was 18. And she's like, "Oh, wow," So she does that, and part of it is kind of owie while she's doing it, but you can feel it release. And then she, again, has been moving around. And so now I was just kind of talking, and I said, I haven't had a cold or anything in 35 years. And, I said, like I said, except for these big things. And then she comes to the top of and she's behind me again. She's working my crown, and she's working right here. And it's, really hurts. I mean, all she's doing is touching you gently on a nerve and stuff there, but it feels like, I don't know, there's a backhoe on there or something, rolling over. And she's going in like this, and so eventually I think I said, "So what point is that you're working on there?" Just curious what's being, excavated and
Kind of like to know.
in case I wanted it, or And at that moment that I said it, so she said, "Oh, there it goes." Rather than thinking, "Oh, good." And the same thing with the thumb. The trauma, and I thought, huh, that's interesting. And she said, what she said is, and I don't remember the technical, physical thing, but it's where the two parts of your brain come together, and it's called some kind of groove or whatever it is, right? I mean, I'm sure there's some people listening who know what it is, but
Are you talking about the corpus callosum?
yeah, but if there's a ridge or a something.
Oh, I see. Okay. I have no idea.
It's that same thing, but that ridge is called something. It's maybe just a something ridge. I don't know, but that's what she said was a trauma there and a fusing, and with the nerve there, she's actually undoing that.
Oh, nice.
And I said, "Oh, okay." And all while that she's doing that, I'm having this whole conversation with me. And so again, I want to share the conversation because it occurs to me and I'm nudged to do it. But I don't want to lead where we're going. I have no idea where we're going, but apparently we're on a roll and we're going someplace. Because now, the first time ever, we've had 2 trauma areas that she's gone to. And so I said, well, I'm just going to tell you a story. And I said what and then it was about how that I'm nudged to have more wider the mega super highway of communication, and I think I just love it. The communication coming into me is flooding in, not only because this is the time that I'm supposed to do that and have the capacity or the bandwidth or whatever, but and the energies as well, but something that's not only collective wise but to me individually. And what's happening is that it's flooding in, and there is, the communication network is there's some there, but it's not able to hold it all. And so it's, it's like it's bouncing off, blocking off. There's blocks or boulders or whatever. I forgot how I said it. And, but it will make sense in a minute what I said. And it's then kind of shattering in the other parts of my body. And that's what these physical, things that are hurting or bothering me or whatever are manifesting, because it's just, galactic waves of energy coming in. It has no place to go. And so it's, like this hurts or that hurts or whatever. And so she said, okay. And then that's when she finished the release. And again, the trauma thing. And I mentioned about, I said, going back to kind of the thread of talking, I've only had a few things in my life. I said, and I think at the time I said, 4 things, and they were really big. And one of them was double cataracts when I was 38 and 38 and a half. And I basically couldn't see at all. The windshield got so muddy, and so I went into that a little bit, and then the ensuing things that went on with those surgeries and so on and so forth. And I've told the story of, we used to have bottle Coke glasses after that, and now I don't wear glasses at all. So that was kind of interesting, and not putting together that there's a thread. I'm just hanging out, having someone, take my ridge and, whatever. So then she's going to, the next place she goes is my leg. And I said, you're getting them all, because that's the other one. That's where I shattered my leg in 5 places. And I said, and the orthopedic surgeon rubbed his hands together and said, all right. I said, well, have fun, as long as you fix it. If you think it's a challenge, you go for it. And again, huge, her thumbs, huge trauma came out of that. I said, well, there's an interesting story around that. That actually, like the eyes, was much more of a divine, spiritual, cosmic op that caused both of those. And the leg was a long story short. The team, the reason I came out to Washington State in the first place, and it came was to shatter. Some of the people on the team decided to start to play for the other side, the dark side, and to say it, and from a narrow perspective. Anyway, so that was, and she said, well, yeah, there's trauma there. Okay, great. So I didn't do anything, and then she didn't pick up anything. I said, and the other one, which you haven't got to, was the lung. I had pneumonia and all that kind of double pneumonia. I said, except for this much of my lung was clean, and they said, well, you're a really heavy smoker. No, never smoked. So no, okay, well, I don't have that one. And then she's doing so, and then she goes up, and she's thinking she's wrapping up, and she goes right to the top of my skull, and she's doing cranial stuff and no big deal. And all of a sudden, it's like she's sticking an ice pick in my head. She's going like this, and it's like, I mean, it is a big ice pick. It's a big fat ice pick. And her thumb goes nuts on the trauma stuff. She said, there's huge trauma here. And I'm going, I really think about it. I said, well, no, I got the surgery in the abdomen and the leg and no. And then it hit me, the light went on. And I said, isn't that fascinating? And I said, draw where it is. She said, right here. I said, yeah, and I haven't thought about this in 45 years at least. That's where I split my head open at the premiere, or the first night, I guess it's an opening, of 2001 The Space Odyssey, outside of the movie theater, where in the city, instead of just having a fire hydrant at the edge of the curb, sometimes there's a fire hydrant against the building, and they're a big thing, and they come out, and so they're flat on one side and they split, out like this. You could hook two big fire hoses up to them. And I got shoved into those right here and cracked the head open. And in the moment that I said it, all of these, talk about implosion, all of this communication, all of this information, all of remember I started by saying, it was interesting, the video with San and all that kind of stuff she was talking about, and then the one with the other woman and what she was talking about. And it was like, and she had been talking the conscious evolution thing about, that it's just enormous and it comes rush. Anyways, certain phrases, so I'm going like, okay, well, I guess it's here for the 1111 portal. And so we're going, and I said to her, and isn't that interesting? This has all happened. And in 12 hours, the 1111 portal. And so she said, well, it's going to take you that long to integrate all of this, but you already look, and the way your body is and moves and is totally different. And by the time the 1111 rolls around, it'll be completely different. So anyways, it was, to me, fascinating that all this kind of stuff. And I said, and I was lit. I said, because I watched a video of myself cracking my head in the moment she was doing this. She, does this thing and takes the ice pick out. And I said, yeah, I'm only like 4.5, 5. So I went and did a search, and the time when the movie, we would have gone to see the thing, because my parents worked for ABC, so we would have been involved for whatever reason in some kind of premiere thing. And it was April 3rd of 68. So that's 4.5 years old. And the other thing is, at that moment, for some reason, it came into me to think about it or to play with it. And I said, well, that's interesting. She said, well, this is a huge, because again, she's talking on the physical plane and, out there plane. She said, this will absolutely transform your whole communication system. And can you imagine what it would have been if you had started this back when you're 4.5? I said, yeah, but intentionally this was done. The head was cracked, and probably wouldn't have been no skin off the nose if it had been completely cracked and you couldn't put the egg back together. But yeah, and at that moment it hit her. She was like, wow. And her whole team is having this, and so there's like all this.
Well, BZ, I have to share a couple things with you. First of all, Okay, so it's my feeling that the 1111 portal opened already. It's been open because my feeling is the energy is moves
Yes,
in waves.
it's never. Yeah, it's never a.
Yes, and so I feel like it's been open for this entire weekend,
Yes.
and because Lisa and I are going to be having a conversation about our weekend tomorrow, and and several of the things that you have said um, are exactly for me. Um, Magenta Pixie's words in her latest YouTube were what they thought was suppression was actually storage. And that's exactly every single thing that
Yeah,
you've just said
absolutely.
is exactly what I get from that.
And that's what I was saying. So I was done with that, and I needed to go home for her minute. And she published it 20 minutes after all of that. So she published that video 20 minutes, and I downloaded, stripped the audio, and put it on so I could listen to it when I went back to work. I was in the greenhouse, but yeah, and and everything that she was talking about, like she said, well, slow down and listen to this carefully. I think, oh, I don't need to slow down. I got the decodes happening right, right here.
I had the same reaction. I intend to listen to it again myself.
Yeah.
I told Lisa, I said, I can feel it. It's tears just started immediately for me.
And this is happening for. That's why. And I'll put the link up, but that. Well, actually, both the sound video and the other one, because there are parts where they're talking about the collect. Well, first of all, the second one is all just as collective. It is in this particular sign, but we're, to use a linear euphemism, we're way in the big leagues. I mean, we're in the Grand Slam kind of part of the game here, and like Grand Slam squared part of the baseball game, and so and as Magenta Pixie talks about, all of that rushing back and imploding, which I've been saying, I don't know, 30 years now, the imploding part. It is imploding. And so all of, and I think it was San, and the other one, she doesn't give her name, so I don't know, but talks about all of your abilities and all of your gifts, and all these things are now coming back in, the things that you have done throughout your life that just seem to miss. But because she was particularly, even though she doesn't do all the reading, she was particularly talking about star seeds, and she's particularly talking about, I think she might even talk about the freedom people, but so who are awake and know that there's big shit going on right now, and but all of those pieces, just like Magenta was talking about, are all coming back in. And this is why, one of the reasons that this, this kind of, and the second one, the conscious evolution was talking about, is that between the 1111, so the window of that, and the 1212 and the window of that, and that space in the middle, is all of this stuff coming forward. So what that translates, and I know because it's already started to happen, what that translates in a way practically is everything for each being individually, the entire landscape, the entire fabric, the entire structure and morph and weave of all that you are is completely changing, wholesale, completely changing, in the most, unless there's attachment, right? Unless there's a, kind of a holding on to, or well, I want to meet my star, I want all these good things, but I want to get, unless there's an attachment thing, for the most amazing, incredible, expansive things. So everything is changing. all for the better, all for the expansive, all for the fantastical. And the only way that some may perceive it as not quite like that, all the way across the board, is if there's attachment pockets there.
Well, there was something that, you're making me think of it. Magenta did not put this as a video, but rather it was answering a question from someone on Facebook. And it actually speaks to exactly what you were just saying. And if you don't mind to indulge me a moment. Magenta, all you do is talk about love, light, and freedom, when the truth of this reality is that we are trapped and will never be free. The controllers are in control, and this reality is much darker and far worse than you describe. You keep making people think that things are better than they are, and you refuse to see the truth of just how dark this world is. And I'm sorry, but that made me laugh. Because I think we all get it. As a matter of fact, some of us get it in spades.
Mm-hmm.
Mine/Nine's response. Yet I have spoken much about the darkness, the trapping system of the matrix and the prison planet. We must understand this aspect of which you speak. But if you do not embrace the truth of light, freedom, and full planetary and cosmic realization, then you are lost and trapped within the matrix. If you only embrace love, light, unicorns, and rainbows, you are lost and trapped within an illusion.
Yeah.
Only the simultaneous embracing and understanding of both frequencies, concepts, dimensions will bring you true freedom. With this, you shall find the ability to create a harmonious reality existence for yourself and all humanity on earth and beyond. When you believe this reality to be lost and beyond all hope, forever locked within the prison of the matrix simulation, then that is the timeline you shall experience.
Mm-hmm.
When you deny your shadow aspect and refuse to face the global shadow, then you are incomplete and ungrounded and are likely to experience crashdown after crashdown as life brings you down to earth in an attempt to create balance within. When both light and darkness are embraced through positive polarization, then one moves into an experience whereby both light and dark are positive aspects within one's reality. The shadow flips into the sun's stream of light, and the light is thus grounded in the warrior strength of the indigo. The key is always balance and integration. Yeah. I so love that. And that's exactly what you were just speaking on.
Yeah.
And it is so true. And I have to say that I've seen enough, felt enough, experienced enough evidence of my very own in regards to that I really do. And everybody's mileage may vary, and everybody's free to believe and feel what they wish, because as Magenta so succinctly pointed out, that is the reality that you will create for yourself. I firmly believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool by me if that's the reality that you wish to experience. Hey, man, no sweat off of my nose.
And you can't bypass it by saying it's an oft refrain. Well, we'll see what happens. Because that doesn't take you out of what you've scripted.
No, that's right.
Yeah, well, prove me wrong. Well, it's not anybody's job to prove anybody anything. It's because we're creator beings, and that was the other thing that I already knew going into this whole thing I just described in the 20 hours, but really very clearly came home, as part of the nudge to record this, is that we're not small, and we're so powerful. And in these moments right now, when all of this is imploding in, and all of the most unimaginable, even deign to believe possible just for oneself and for one tiny little eensy bit of an aspect of oneself, in the shirt and all of it coming in, is so huge and so brilliant and so talented and grand and colorful and vivacious. And you wield it, whether you do it consciously or not. You call it up, you whistle it up, you load your paintbrush with this pigment and this richness and this color, and where you choose to sweep it with your thoughts and your words and the deeds and the energy frequency brush that you hold is yours. And source is not going to say, hey, don't do that, not so good. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's the thing. It never has worked that way.
When you're done and you go, oh, and because you're so amazing, your painting, quote unquote, it comes to life, and if it's I don't know, if it's a Lieberhest, which is this big mythical beast that's not actually mythical at all because it's right in front of you and it's gnashing and drooling on your feet because you just painted it. You did that. So it's not an intellect. This isn't quite the right way, but I'm going to go with it for its minute because I can't quite come around. But there's no room. We don't have the luxury. We don't have the, if we want to not get gnashed by the, Librador creature there we just created, we don't have the luxury to say, yeah, we'll see how it works out,
I'm sorry, you're making me think of, yeah, okay, I painted it, now we'll just see how it works out. Somehow I know how that story ends.
So and yeah, we can see how it works out, and if you don't like the drool all over you and the teeth gnashing and maybe other bodily fluids that are running down the whatever cliff or something that you're on, but it's that real. That's the other thing. I think, well, now because people are getting feedback and evidence right away, and so yes, it's your actions, and yes, it's your musings, it's your daydreaming, it's your thoughts, it's your vocabulary and your nattering and your droning to yourself, or if you're sitting in theory, your space all by yourself and you're bitching in your head about a coworker, this, that, the other thing. It has tremendous power. So if there's daggers, they're actually materializing because you're that good out. And the same for others, and when you're doing that to others, you're actually making your energetic frequency landscape so vivid and so rich, of the dagger sort, of the slapping people around sort, all those kinds of things. And because you're drawing that from, it's reciprocal, because those are a match. Those are energetic frequencies that are matched to that, and they hang out in the same neighborhood.
Yep.
So being well, I didn't know, because didn't we talk a couple months ago about we've moved from apprenticeship to masteryship, and we really are conscious. A lot of levels of our being know all of this, and for whatever reason, for some there's part of us in the shirt that's denying it, or but I like the fancy car, or I like this, or I'm really addicted to the fear thing, or whatever. It's different for everybody, and all of that is true, and all of that is wonderful. And the only time it rub comes is when you go and you got the beast there gnashing its teeth at you, and you realize, oh yeah, I did that, and I made him really pointy. And
Yep.
He made him good and scary.
Well, you'll have to. We absolutely have to. If you do decide to put this out, because this is your choice, and I, of course, wouldn't put it out if you choose not to. But
yeah, give me the magenta thing.
yeah, absolutely. Well, the other thing is that if you do decide to, we have to have another conversation as a sort of update, because you're not through integrating all that yet.
No.
And I want to hear, and I'm sure everybody else will want to hear too, what unfolds. And
that's very interesting you mentioned that. I'm actually I forgot one part because I came off so I'd done this last bit, and the ice pick was the last one and the whole thing. And she says, well, your body says it's done now. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm serious toast, man. So she said, get up for a minute and we'll see, what you think. I said, yeah, piece of cake, get up. Okay, here goes.
Sounds so easy.
So I got up and I stood up, and she's a structural specialist, right? So medicine specialist. So she could look at the shoulders. And I had a knee that was this, and she said, that's that, she's kind of with her hands gesturing to different parts. That's good. I said, yeah. And then I stood for a minute, and I was kind of thinking about all the things and kind of processing all the stuff that went on. And I said, but I reached kind of behind my back area, and I said, there's something here. And I was trying to decide, was it a lingering thing that hurt? I said, no, it doesn't hurt. And I said, and then I got this huge video of the back and my muscles, under the skin part, as if you were looking at a scientific or doctor type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know what any of this is called, and I don't know how it really works, but I'm just going to describe to you the video that I'm seeing of this. And so I kind of went to the wall so I could see it. I said, there's these groups of muscles in the back they're big, like my fingers, but they're big, wide muscles that come down. And what I'm feeling is down the lower part of the back, because they used to be up higher, and the shift, and then they've been put in the place. So if you think from your high part of your ribs down, they've been put in that place. And I went through this whole thing and was in detail describing what the video was showing me. And she said, yep, now this person is training this, so she could tell you all the different muscles and this and that and everything. And she said, yeah, that's exactly it. She said, when the ice pick and the head cracking, and then this thing here, it completely blocked, which I think is interesting. It goes back to the agendas thing, all communication. And we're talking of galaxies wide source communication from you, and the muscles that you just detailed and everything, because I let all of that go and put this back and healed it, changed the nerves and all that kind of stuff. It took all the muscles and set them back where they're supposed to go, which changes the whole pineal, which had been completely blocked like a cement, what are those big things on a highway when they put
a Jersey barrier.
There you go. So it is a Jersey barrier was there in through here because of that accident. at 4.5 that did that. And so she said, you will have integration, but because now all of that is flowing. And so for me, and I chuckled and I said, well, someone didn't get the bonus on the job because, I may have had Jersey barriers in my communication, but for 56 years, it's still been eking through.
You're doing a damn fine job of it.
Well, and that's something I know about you, and hence why I'm saying that as this integration
Right.
continues, and I'd love to hear, and I'm sure everybody else will too, love to hear your experience of that. Because a lot of what you described, a lot of what's happening for different people, of course, it will always be different for each individual being for how they've scripted it for themselves coming in. I feel anyway, it can all unfold differently, but the experiences, I think I've kind of always known that part of Conscious Conversation Central is that in the sharing of each experiences, it's not for us to compare each other, but there's also some codes that come across in some of these experiences that, and it's for me, it's always been a twofold thing. There are codes, but there are also, some folks that experience this just think they're crazy, or there's nobody else out there that's experiencing anything like this. And so to have conversations like this, that, because really that's all we're doing. We're sitting around in our virtual living room together, having this conversation, and it just lets folks know, well, you're not the only one.
Right.
That we're all there, those of us who are open to having them, wanted them scripted so that we could have them.
Right.
And eventually figure out what they are, because not everybody, some of us didn't think they were connected or anything.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about the non-interference rule and stuff, and so I got a hint of that from the text that this person sent me afterwards, thanking me for letting her be a part of this whole unbinding that happened. And I thought, well, yeah, you were part of the conduit of it. But that lets me know that, her part of the room, was pretty crowded, and they have to keep some of it under the rug, but they were letting her know, just like she was getting previews of, in the way that's allowed, of coming attractions of what you're speaking of. Because she was looking at me like, I had gone and totally changed clothes, and I don't know, maybe styled my hair or.
Well, when you said originally, when you very first started speaking on this, before we actually even got to you, and you spoke of fur changing color, I immediately knew that it was right back to that exact same thing that Magenta Pixie said. Even in these animals, especially ones that are in households where the beings, I'd like to say it's something other, the beings that have them,
Right.
or that they chose to be with, let's say that way. I feel like animals carry codes for beings too. And so the minute you said that about the fur changing color, I knew that it was right back to that Magenta Pixie thing. What was meant to be suppression was merely storage.
Yes. And all of the doors, if you think of a storage, like a big storage locker with a big tight garage doors, the doors are all flinging open now, everywhere, and it's all coming out. But instead of in a lot of areas there may be like a hodgepodge of storage and so on, but it's actually very neatly arranged. And as soon as, again, because we are the only experts for ourselves, as soon as we go, oh, let the attachment go and just simply notice, it's like, you know, a piece will levitate over and say, hey, I'm, you know, this, and you're, you know, we did this together, whatever it is, you know, as far as superpowers and all that kind of stuff. But it all also, because we're not small, it relates to being responsible to ourselves, and, you know, accountable to ourselves, to source, to that connection that is there. And so we can't pretend that we're small anymore, and we can't hide from that anymore. And, you know, again, to use the linear, you know, this is where the rubber is meeting the road, and there's no more spinning of the wheels, because you're already going Mach 10 as soon as the rubber hits the road.
Yep. Well, I feel like it.
You feel like the rubber hitting the road?
Well, to a degree, yeah, there's a part of that. But I was really thinking more along the Mach 10.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it has felt like,
Yeah.
you know, and it just, I bet it's a delicious, but it's also a bit, well, and again, because we were, you know, out this weekend and all, but wow. BZ, this is so cool. I do hope that we get to put this out, and I do hope that we'll, because I'm anxious. I know I'm going to hear about it. Whether we put this out or not, I'm going to get to know. So I'm really grateful.
Me too.
Well, I'm happy to put it out, and I'm happy to share some of the follow-up, although I don't know if I'm getting a hairstyle.
Awesome. Okay. So I love that. And just to give everybody a little tease, we are going to be having conversations tomorrow on the 1111 portal, because I know a lot of people are waiting for that specific. Oh, and I wanted to add something to that, by the way, and I want to make sure I did this right. So hold on one real quick second before I actually say it.
Okay.
No, I am right. Okay. So we talk about the 1111, the 1212. There's another one right behind it, 112-2020. And I would call because that's the Saturn-Pluto conjunction all the astrologers are talking about. And B, numerologically, that comes up to an 8. And we all know what that is. For me, that's the number of materialization. It's the, upward pointing infinity symbol, which a lot of folks, including Lisa Risenberry, feels had been knocked over.
Right.
And it is now righting itself. So I'm sorry, but this is so exciting to me. I can't understand.
Well, it's for me, it's abundance on all planes, all realms. And
exciting for me.
The ability to tap into it all from any of those and all of those, as a point, you can go to any of those.
Well, I like that idea. And the exciting thing for me, part of the reason I even found out about this whole thing about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction is because it's also my second Saturn return comes exact. So it's just a very exciting time, I feel, for all of us to actually remember who we are. Yeah. I haven't fully remembered, but I'm like right on the edges. And I mean, what's so interesting in some of that is that I think others have gotten glimpses of more of me into me here recently. And so yay for all of us everywhere.
Yeah. And if one is sitting on the sidelines, we'll see how it turns out. You will be sidelined because that's what you chose to do. It's not that someone's done it, or you've been thwarted or anything else like that. It's your choice.
Yep.
So
Well, thanks
It's
for coming.
wild and cool out there, so come play.
Yes, I'm telling you, it's the most fun. I have to be honest. I've had the most fun in the last 2.5 to almost 3 full years. Just waking up to who I am and what we're doing here, and learning how to let go of some, the program things. But I mean, it's just been fascinating and fun, and I don't even the scary things. I mean, I've talked about those scary things that talk about jumping around the room and gnashing of teeth,
Right.
that sort of thing. So thanks to both of you for thanks for hitting us up and saying, I'll come talk tonight, because I was so excited to hear that from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, any night you've got this kind of music. I'm up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we'll leave this here now, but we'll have ways to get in touch with all three of us in the Show More section, of course. And I would encourage everyone that has not already to please subscribe to Conscious Conversation Central and to BZ's channel. And because this video will be on both of those channels. And if you're subscribed to BZ, then come over and subscribe to me too, and vice versa. And make sure to hit that little bell icon on both places, because I have figured out how to go live and I know how to use it now. So I still don't know how to edit, but that's okay. I don't think I'm supposed to actually ever edit anything. I think I like that. So I'm okay with that. But thank you both again. And till next time.
Bye.